I have been married to my husband for 6 years. We have 2 kids together, 8 meters and 4 meters. Our youngest is special needs. My husband also has a daughter, 12, from his previous relationship. My husband's ex has had primary custody. My husband gets SD on weekends and alternating holidays/birthdays. This past weekend, my SD asked my husband if she can come live with him full time. Her mom recently moved in with her fiancé and his kids, and there has been some friction with that from what I understand. Nothing nefarious, just new house, new rules, having to share a bedroom, etc. My husband didn't give her an answer either way. He said he would look into it. When he and I were discussing it, I had the following objections. SD and our kids do not get along. It is something we have worked on for years, in and out of therapy, and it just ain't happening. SD resents mine for existing, and is cruel towards my youngest for their disabilities. There have been issues with her bullying. My oldest is very protective of his little brother and hates SD for being mean to his brother. He has started physical altercations with her over it. The truth is that most of the time we have SD, I make arrangements to take the boys to visit their grandparents, or husband takes her out of the house for daddy-daughter time to avoid conflict. I cannot imagine how living together full-time would be for them. We really don't have room. We have a 4BR home. Both my husband and I WFH so we can be a caretaker for my youngest. Due to the nature of his disabilities, it is really not feasible for him and my oldest to share a room. It wouldn't be safe or fair for my oldest. My SD's room is used as my WFH office space during the week. I arrange my vacation time and whatnot around her visitation so I can stay out of her space while she is here. I have to take very sensitive phone calls, and I need a closed door when I work, so common areas are out, and my husband uses our bedroom as his home office, so that's out too. We don't currently have room in the budget to make an addition to the house or remodel non-livable spaces at the moment. My husband hears my objections and understands them, but he wants to go for it and figures that everything will eventually work out. He doesn't want his daughter to think he is abandoning her. And I feel for the girl. It would be awful for your dad to say no when you ask if you can live with him. But I have my own kids to think about too, and I just do not believe that her living here is in their best interest at all, considering their history and our current living arrangements. Does saying no to this put me in evil stepmom territory? Edit, for the people who want to make me into an horrible homewrecker to go along with being an evil stepmom. Sorry to disappoint, but we did not have an affair. My husband and my stepdaughter's mom were never married. They were never in a relationship. They were friends with benefits. They bartended together, would shoot the bull, and would sometimes get drunk and fuck. My husband claims he needed beer Google's cause she really isn't his type. When my SD's mom found out she was pregnant, she told my husband she was keeping it and asked if he wanted to be in the baby's life. They never lived together, except for a few weeks during the newborn stage to help out. Yes. I had my first before I married my husband. My husband and I were in a long-term relationship when I had a birth control malfunction. My husband and I discussed what we wanted to do, and we both decided we wanted to raise the child. A few days later my husband proposed. I wanted to take time to recover from birth and wait until our kiddo was old enough to pawn him off on the grandparents for the week so husband and I could enjoy our wedding. We didn't get married until my oldest was 2. Edit 2. Regarding my youngest son's disabilities, SD's bullying, and my oldest starting fights, since there is a lot of projection and speculation. My youngest son has both physical and mental disabilities. He uses multiple kinds of medical and therapy equipment. My SD has shoved him out of his wheelchair. She has pinched him hard enough to leave bruises. She has hit his face when he was having trouble verbalizing. IDGAF if this is normal sibling behavior. It is alarming enough to me that I feel it is best for my youngest to spend as little time as possible with her until this behavior completely stops, and I will say it has lessened quite a bit. We went through a period of it happening frequently, and it has slowed. The last incident was 2 months ago when SD grabbed my son's wheelchair and aggressively pushed him out of her way because he was blocking the hallway. One of the times that my son had started an altercation with her was because she had told my son that his brother was not a real person and that she was going to call the hospital to have him taken away so they could perform experiments to find out what it was. She went into detail about things they would do to him. Like ripping his fingernails out. And yes, my son did lose his temper and hit her. My son was immediately disciplined, loss of tablet time, and we had an age-appropriate discussion about how his heart is in the right place to want to protect his little brother, but he needs to find an adult when something like that happens. This was not made up. Stepdaughter admitted she said it to my husband when he was able to sit her down and talk with her later in the day. I am not allowed to discipline or have parenting talks with SD per Biomom's wishes. I am not welcome to be a part of SD's therapy journey, mostly per Biomom's wishes. She does not want me involved. My husband has always been worried about rocking the boat with Biomom on these things. So I do not know the extent of what therapeutic treatments she has had. I do know she does go to therapy during the week, and my husband has gone to sessions, but it isn't something he is free to discuss with me. So I am in the dark about that. Edit 3, there's someone in the comments who claims to be my sister-in-law. They are either a troll or are mistaken. My husband is an only child. I don't have a sister-in-law. Edit 4, thank you all for your comments and insights. There were a few points I wanted to clarify based on some of the questions and feedback I've received. On whether my stepdaughter has a clear understanding of what living with us full-time would actually be like. Several of you mentioned that my stepdaughter might have an unrealistic view of what it would mean to live here full-time. I completely agree. Right now, when she's here on the weekends, her dad's attention is pretty much entirely on her, 90% of it, if I'm being honest, because of the visitation schedule and the ongoing tension between her and my sons. I think she's imagining that this level of attention and special treatment would continue if she moved in full-time, but the reality is very different. I don't think she would enjoy the day-to-day grind here any more than she does at her mom's house. But at the end of the day, she's still a kid, and I understand that her perspective might be a little skewed. Why does she want to leave her mom's house? There were some really thoughtful concerns about whether something more serious, like neglect or abuse, might be going on at her mom's place. I want to reassure everyone that it's nothing like that. The main reason she's upset is because she now has to share a room with her soon-to-be stepsister. This is a temporary situation since her stepsister will be moving out in the fall and will only be back for weekends and holidays, but I get why it's bothering her right now. On top of that, her mom and her mom's partner have decided that all the kids will follow the same set of rules. That means she has new limits on screen time and more household responsibilities, which are new to her. It's been an adjustment, but nothing harmful, just growing pains in a new blended family situation. I've also seen some confusion about the relationships in our family. To clarify, my husband and I had our first child together before we got married. He proposed after we found out I was pregnant, but I wanted to wait until after the birth before we got married. We didn't actually tie the knot until our first child was 2 years old. As for my husband and my stepdaughter's mom, they were never in a relationship, never married. It was a casual sexual relationship, friends with benefits type of thing, and they both bartended together. When my stepdaughter's mom found out she was pregnant, she told my husband, and he chose to be involved in his daughter's life from the beginning. They never lived together aside from a short time after the baby was born when my husband helped out during the newborn stage. I hope this clears up some of the questions. I appreciate everyone's input and will keep you updated as things progress. Update 1. So last week my husband and I sat down together and talked about SD coming to live with us full time and how that would work out. It was a difficult discussion because, as some had suggested, I really pushed hard for him to really think things through and figure out the obstacles. Where would he and I work? Common areas are out due to the nature of our jobs. I can't due to employer restrictions. He does some NSFW things and we don't want the kids to see. How were we going to handle the animosity and bullying between the kids? What consequences would be in place? We talked about what expectations would be for SD living here full-time versus just weekends. About how she probably has unrealistic expectations about what the nitty-gritty life here is like. We talked through every possibility we could come up with, including out there possibilities like selling out home or separating our household and living apart for a while. We ran numbers to see how it may affect our finances. And ultimately we agreed that the answer was not yet with a goal for our family working towards it. And that the best course of action would be to slowly adjust the amount of time she spends in our home versus a sudden custody switch. So free night my husband took SD out to talk to her about everything. He explained to her that she wouldn't have her own room at our place for a couple years, but that is something that is on the top of the list for home improvements once our youngest handicap accessibility renovations are paid off. He talked to her about what expectations of living with us would be like. That she would have chores and responsibilities. And most importantly they talked about the bullying and laid down the provision that we needed to see her relationship and attitude towards her brothers improve before she can live here full time. SD obviously wasn't thrilled about any of this, but she said okay and that she would do better with her brothers. So Saturday I made arrangements for my parents to watch our sons, and we invited SD's mom over so we could all sit down and figure out how SD can start to spend more time here. And that is when it fell apart. Mom is not okay with a change in custody at all. Absolutely not was her answer. She took SD home early Sat. My husband tried to reach out to SD on Sun to see how she was and ask if she wanted to do their guitar lesson over Skype or something since her mom took her home early, but she never responded. He called SD's mom and she informed him that SD had lost her phone privileges. So we don't really know what is going on with all that. Edit. Some of you asked about the situation with my SD losing her phone privileges. After some back and forth, we found out that she threw her phone at her mom's face, which cracked the screen. Naturally, her mom wasn't thrilled about that and has decided not to give the phone back until SD pays off the deductible to fix it. For now, we still have alternative ways of contacting her, so we're not completely cut off. On why my stepdaughter wants to live with us and whether her biomom knew about these plans, there's been some confusion about this, so I want to clear things up. SD's mom didn't come to us with this request. My stepdaughter actually approached us the weekend before last, asking if she could live with us full time. This all started because she and her mom recently moved in with her mom's partner, and there's been some friction there. My husband told SD that we'd need to discuss it and see if it was even feasible before making any promises. We didn't talk to her bio mom until after we'd had time to work out a plan and see if it was a possibility. But as soon as SD's mom found out that her daughter wanted to spend more time with us, she immediately shut it down. So, that's where we're at with that. I've seen several comments again speculating that my SD might be experiencing abuse at her mom's house. I want to say that I completely understand the concern, and I agree that it's important to keep that possibility in mind. Abuse can happen to anyone, and I'm not naive to that. That said, I don't have any specific reason to believe that's what's happening here. My SD's mom has been with her partner for 5 or 6 years now, and my stepdaughter has spent plenty of time around him over those years. The recent change is that they've only just moved in together. From what my SD has told us, the main issues are around having to share a room with her new stepsister and adjusting to new house rules. As far as I know, my SD has a good relationship with her dad and hasn't confided anything about her stepdad making her uncomfortable. I want to believe she would tell her dad if something was wrong, though I acknowledge there's always a chance she wouldn't. For now, we're monitoring the situation closely, but I don't have any strong evidence to suggest there's anything more serious going on. We're still working through how to handle all of this, especially with SD's mom being so firm in her stance. I'll keep you all updated as we learn more and figure out our next steps. Update 2. My husband has a daughter that predates our relationship. We also have 2 children of our own, one of which is severely disabled. He and his daughter's bio mom never had a formal custody arrangement, but due to some recent drama and changes, it became apparent we needed to get something formal and court-ordered in place. So we consulted an attorney. While on that course we discovered that my husband wasn't listed on the birth certificate. We had paternity testing done. My husband is not the biological father. He is absolutely devastated. He's spiraling. He's hurting so bad, and I can't do anything to take his pain away. We've hugged and cried together so many times this week. He's not okay. He's flip-flopping through despair and anger. The anger scares me. His knuckles are all fucked up from punching something. He wouldn't talk to me about what happened. Shit is falling apart at home. My husband is in no place to be a father and partner right now. I sent our oldest to my sister's, but my youngest is having a really bad week with his medical issues. I think he picks up on the stress/mood of the house. We had to go to the ER last night due to the increased seizure activity. When I came home, my husband was fucking drunk. He became belligerent and demanded I have our sons tested too. He didn't even ask how our son was doing. I was so pissed off but held my tongue and walked out of the room. I left a few Gatorades and some aspirin next to him after he passed out. I'm trying to get him in to see a therapist. No dice so far. We haven't told SD or Biomom yet. We've already skipped one of our regularly scheduled visitations with SD, and another is coming up soon. So that is going to need to be dealt with ASAP. I just don't know what to do. I'm so afraid right now. I don't know how much longer I can hold things together. I want off this ride. New update. I had a couple people asking if I would update and let you guys know how my husband is doing now that we are a couple months out from our D-Day. Some things are better, and others are a hell of a lot worse. Not long after I posted, my husband and I had the biggest, full-blown drawn-out fight of our entire relationship. I honestly cannot even tell you how it started. It was one of those little things that just triggered, and all the stress, anger, resentment and other negative emotions we have been feeling were just completely taken out on one another. I took the kids and left afterwards. I refused to come home until my husband got his head out of his ass and talked to someone about all of this. The silver lining to the big blowout was it did spur my husband on to start dealing with everything. He has been to his doctor and has been prescribed medication, and he has been looking for a therapist. He did a session with one, but didn't particularly click with them. He is going to pursue others as our finances allow. My husband and I discussed his drunken demand for paternity testing. I was able to express how hurtful that was to me. He apologized fully and has decided he does not need to have our sons tested right now. We've discussed options for what we'll do if doubt continues to linger on my husband's part, but as of now no testing is being done. Husband and I are both trying our best to show each other grace on this matter. The hell of a lot worse part is what is going on with stepdaughter. My husband had to take a few weeks without visitation to get his own emotions under control. Then we had our typical weekend visit. We did not tell stepdaughter or biomom about the test results yet, as we were still considering our options for the next move. My husband had ultimately decided that he still wanted a relationship with his daughter and still wanted to pursue legal custody. The attorney we had consulted suggested that with our state's laws and the established parental relationship, we should have a claim and could likely get court-ordered partial custody, but it would be a more complicated legal case. So that's all fine and dandy, but my husband in a very boneheaded move did not play his cards close enough to his chest with biomom. Several weeks ago they had a verbal altercation. We have not been able to get in contact with biomom, her fiancé or stepdaughter since. We contacted the police who told us this was a civil matter and we needed to go through the court, so no help there. Sorry. I wish I had a happier update, or more of an update in general. Next story. Adopted my dead best friend's baby. Years later, My brother convinced his fiancée I was having an affair and got her to DNA test my daughter. I, 30M, have a daughter who's 6. I am not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically and were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were killed. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building, and were both killed. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents, so I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago we were all meeting up at my parents' house and my Sil saw an old picture of me, my friend and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that was Lily's mother. Sil got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married, or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine and my friend's biological daughter. My Sil got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter, and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red and she stormed off. My brother is mad I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers and then parading the results up to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing and called me an asshole. I don't feel like the asshole, especially considering my Sil was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. I'm asking for Reddit opinions, mostly just for validation, so was I the asshole? Did the brother's fiancée assume Oop was married to the deceased friend? Oop, I can see how she assumed that we were together. In the picture I had my arm around her shoulders. This was before my friend was married to her husband. At the time that picture was taken they were just friends. Commenter, I think you're a hero. I'm proud of you. If anything ever happens to me, I know my daughter will be so loved and cared for and raised in a loving household. I hope somehow your friend and Lily's daddy are resting peacefully knowing she's got a papa that loves her. I'm going back to cutting onions now. Oop, I appreciate that, a lot. I'm doing my best to raise Lily with the values and beliefs her mother and bio dad had and wanted to raise her with, even if some of them differ a bit from my own. Does Oop know what kind of DNA test Sil took for his daughter? Oop, I believe they were doing one of those home DNA kits, though I don't know what company they did it through. Commenter, NTA, she wanted to stir some shit up, that's a hell of a lot of effort to help. Also, I'd be pissed about how she got Lily's DNA to do this. It didn't go the way she thought it would, so she got mad. Your brother is just trying to side with his soon-to-be wife. Update, August 31st, 2024. My brother thought I had been having an affair with Lily's mom and thought I was Lily's bio dad. He tricked Sil into believing that I was in a relationship with Lily's mom and was Lily's bio dad. Sil then saw the picture of Lily's mom and her husband, and assumed Lily was an affair child between the two of them and was being led on to believe that I was Lily's bio dad. My Sil ended up coming to my house and apologizing, as well as telling me the full story. My brother put her up to the DNA test. When I first adopted Lily, my brother for some reason believed that Lily was my bio daughter. He thought that me and Lily's mom were together and just weren't telling anyone. He believes that when she got pregnant, Lily's mom told me that Lily was mine and that she was going to just say that it was her husband's, and I went along with it because I didn't really want kids. Sil was under the impression I believed I was Lily's bio dad. She saw the picture of Lily's mom and I, and after asking for clarification on who she was, assumed we were together in it, and then got suspicious when she saw that the other guy in the picture, Lily's actual bio dad, looked a lot like Lily. I also want to clarify, I didn't tell her that Lily's bio dad was in the picture because she had specifically pointed to Lily's mom, and I assumed she knew that Lily was adopted. I didn't know my brother had been telling her lied for nearly 2 years. She got the DNA test out of her own suspicions, and my brother helped her with it because he thought it would reveal that I was actually Lily's bio dad. He manipulated her into thinking that it would clear the air of suspicion, when really he was just trying to prove that I was really Lily's bio dad and lying about the reasons for adoption. Well, of course the results proved I wasn't Lily's bio dad and that my brother was wrong. My brother felt too embarrassed to confess to his fiancée that he had lied about the circumstances, which is why Sil confronted me with the results. My Sil also apologized for showing me the results in front of my daughter. She told me that her mom had an affair and cheated on her father, got pregnant with another man's kid, and had let her father believe the kid was his. Her father was devastated by this when he found out, and she grew very resentful of women who do that to their spouses. She had wanted to sit me down and talk to me about it without my daughter, but when she saw me with my daughter she got angry thinking I was being led on to believe I was raising my daughter when I was actually raising another man's kid, and she ended up exploding and immediately waved the results in my face. My Sil does feel very guilty, and she's angry at my brother for lying to her. I'm not angry at her for doing the test, because she thought she was doing the right thing. I also forgave her for the way she told me about the results, because clearly affairs are a sensitive subject for her and I can understand why she would have exploded like that. I'm pretty sure she plans to break up with my brother now, and I don't blame her. When I called and asked my brother about this, he admitted it. When I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man who had been against having kids at the time would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it. He told Sil that I was Lily's bio dad and was aware of the fact. He took it a step further, and said that me and Lily's mom were together at the time of Lily's conception. Both me and my parents are going low contact with my brother for a while now. I know I will forgive my brother eventually, but I can't do that right now. He believed I was low enough to have an affair with a married woman, get her pregnant, take no responsibility, allow her to pass off the kid as another man's, and then only take responsibility because her mom died. Relevant comments. Oop on how Lily is handling all of those. Is she mad at her uncle and his fiancée? Oop. She was confused and I had to explain to her what Sil had said in terms she would understand. She was angry Sil would think that low of her mom, and I had to explain that she had been lied to and didn't think that anymore. She's not mad at Sil anymore but doesn't want to ever talk to her uncle again. Oop on fatherhood since adopting Lily. Oop. Lol. Yes, I can admit that I'm definitely a lot softer since becoming a father. Adopting my daughter made me have to finally be mature, something I wasn't in my 20s when I adopted her. Commenter. Both your brother and Sil are getting off too lightly. He butted into your family and lied to his wife. And, sensitive issue or not, she still violated your daughter's privacy, then called her an affair child derisively in front of her. Commenter. When I asked why he would think this, he said that he couldn't think of a reason why a man who had been against having kids at the time would willingly adopt a baby without having a blood connection to it. Your brother really showing his whole ass here. Your brother was both a terrible sibling and partner. He riled up his fiancée based on her trauma in order to enlist her to help in deceiving you. Awful. Oop, I really want to stress this point, took the words right out my mouth. I'm not mad at my Sil because I know she was manipulated into doing this by my brother. I wish more people could understand that. Update 2. I don't know if multiple updates are allowed for this sub. If not, take this down and I'll post to my profile. Some people were wondering what happened with my brother and Sil. Well, she dumped him. They tried to make it work, but that only lasted a few days and she ended up giving him the ring back. My brother got shit-faced drunk on my front lawn in the middle of the night. I was pissed because Lily had school the next morning and this woke her up. My brother was yelling insults to both me and my daughter. We called police and he spent the night in jail for drunken disturbance. I believe the official charge was something like that. I sure as hell pressed charges because he was saying some borderline threatening statements to me and my daughter. I don't think it's enough to qualify for a restraining order, but if it is I'll get a temporary one. On a more positive note, Lily is doing well. She's getting straight A's in even subject, and is excited about her first ever science project. She's been talking my ear off about it. Send help, lol.